What is up, everybody? It is BeyondMan85. So, what do we have today? Today, I have the inner workings and circuits from Jagthunder1's multi-track switching directional train station. This does need to be aligned either east or west while facing the switch tracks because it relies on the north-south quirk for the rail system. Okay. So we'll start with the switches, because they're kind of important. Okay. So there are 20 single tile wide tileable switches with an XOR gate included to each one. Basically what it means is only one of these lights can be on at any one time. And the ones that have the problem where two lights are on, it's not going to be a problem. For instance, I'm just going to pick this track, track 2, on the red side, and track 9 on the green side. Now, what's happened? What's happened here is the button push goes into the input block where the other buttons are on the right-hand side, which powers a line of redstone that runs all 20 switches. That's part of the XOR gate. However, you will notice that 2 tracks are now powered, but it's on the other half of the train station. The reason why is the ones on the left go to our left, and the ones to the right are going to go to the right. And there's 2 different departures. There's 2 different departures. There's the left side platform departure and the right side. So even though there's 2 lights on, I don't care because only the 10 left side, leftmost rails are the problem. There's only 1 output. I'll show you this. I'll show you this a little bit later over there. The left side, the red switches on the left. So basically, what I'm trying to get you guys to pretend is that. Okay? Pretend there's buttons on that line. This is a flush wall. So, what's happened here is there's 1 light on the right-hand side and 1 light on the left. I'm just going to use this as an example. That's the minecart for the left-hand side of the tracks. That's the minecart for the right-hand side. So, in this setup, you can select 2 different buttons and have 2 people get in, 1 in the left and 1 in the right minecart, and they'll go to two different locations, which is fine because it's not what I'm worried about. I put that blocker in there just for reference sake. The long story short is there are 10 switches over here, and only one of these guys can be on at any one time. So even though that light's on, it doesn't matter. As long as when I push this light, because there's less than 15 blocks in between, it'll actually turn all the lights off. So the only problem is when this light's on and this light's on, but again, they're 2 totally different tracks, so we don't care. So I want to turn this one on. This is going to a particular destination. So what's happening? So the red circuit takes the input from the button through a repeater. This is the input block, which then powers the entire redstone line, which turns on all the switches. It's part of the XOR gate, which then powers this block, this repeater, this redstone torch, which then turns off, because it's inverted, which turns off that torch, which then turns on an inverter, which turns off an output, which turns on the output, which powers this line, which switches this track. I'll do it simpler so we can walk through it. Boom. Actually, did it this way. Okay, you see how it made two circles? One to turn the output on, and the other one to turn it back off. Okay? So eventually, the final result is this redstone is off, which turns off this line, which inverts the signal, which powers this redstone, which unpowers that block, which switches this track. Then all we're doing is taking the signal up here into a light that we can tell which track is on or off. The on signal being the one we actually want to travel to, all of the ones being off, aka inverted. So, how does all this work? So, that was the red line. The green line's similar. It's just wired this way. So, you basically get that. 4-tick delay repeater, tower torch, XOR gate, mutually exclusive, and then the line, the light. So, what's happened? Eventually, as you can see, all of the lights are actually on. However, we only want the inverted signal, so we've actually inverted all of them where they're all off. So, here we go. This is our switchers. So, the north-south quirk. We are currently facing north. No matter what I do, this train will always snap to the northeasterly direction. I think it'll do it to the south, but yeah, north-south quirk. And it'll always go northeast or southeast. Okay. Got a train here. It does the same shit. Do the train there, it'll do that. Even if you had it like this, boom. The train always likes to turn to the right, basically. Okay? So with that in mind, we can use that to our advantage. See how the train always wants to turn to the right. It doesn't want to turn to the left. However, by powering it with redstone torch, by powering it, we force it to point to the left. So that's its normal state. So we basically have that 10 times. We have 10 of those switches, and then we've powered them all. And by choosing the track, we're actually unpowering the switch, allowing the north-south quirk to engage right here. So this redstone torch is off because the signal is being inverted. So the north-south quirk is working on this track. All of the other ones, all the other 9, are powered and therefore doing the opposite of the north-south quirk. Why does that make a difference, David? Well, if you know your Minecraft minecarts, okay, that minecart's going to keep going until it arrives at the one that we've selected to travel down. So we pushed this button, so it's the first track on the red line, which goes through the switcher, turns off this switch, which then allows us to exit the station on the red line. Okay. Now, you will notice that departure is black, not racist. It's just a color. And the white line is the arrival. And you know that we're leaving and exiting the station on one line. Each one of these 10 is a different destination. So, what happens when you're at a destination and you come into the station? You're going to come in. Through the arrival. Then you can either jump out or jump in this minecart. And we'll come back to this. The departure is similar. We've already selected the first light on the track. And hit this button. Then we're going to go out through the switch track line, down the one that we've selected, and out to the red destination. With me so far? Okay. That's the setup on the left of what we're doing here, right next to each other, to go to have everything merge into one line to go into the station to the arrival. But Houston, we have a problem. The arrival is just going to go to the departure and then get jumbled up and screwed up unless we power it. So this is the north-south quirk. We don't want it to do that. So all we have to do is invert it. Block with a torch underneath every single one of them. But because it's arrival, we always want them to come into the station, so we don't need to switch the tracks. We don't need to switch the white tracks at all, because they're doing exactly what we want them to do. Bring all 10 destinations in on one line into the station. It's only our destination that we want to hand-pick select. Okay. What happens on arrival, David? Well, that's an excellent question. Well, you're going to come in on the station, merge onto the arrival track. You're going to come in here. You're going to stop here. You're going to jump out of the minecart. Then the blue button is going to return the cart to the station, to the storage. And it's going to bring the minecart into the Pez dispenser. What's the Pez dispenser do, David? The Pez dispenser stores minecarts in physical format. I guess you could use a hopper and a chest and a dispenser, but whatever. This looks cool. What does this mean? It is a visual representation of how many train cars are in the station's inventory. So basically, so behind, right here's a wall. Here's a wall. And there's glass around the Pez dispenser. So anybody that's walking around the station, they can see the buttons, they can see the 2 departure tracks and the 2 arrivals. How many minecarts are available for passengers? Well, you can see the glass wall right here. Tell you how many carts are here. Now we need to load the Pez dispenser. Turn in minecart. Now now we have some trains. Let's say somebody leaves the station on the train. Well, what happens? Pez dispenser activates and brings a train and puts it on the departure pad, on the departure track, ready for the next person to use it. How does that happen, David? Button pushes, goes into a pulse generator. It's a single tick pulse generator. Actually, it's 2 ticks because it's a repeater plus 2 tick delay. Basically, it sends a pulse out of redstone, which then powers and unpowers and repowers this trapdoor. And when the trapdoor moves, it becomes translucent, transparent, and entities can pass through the block. So right now it's a solid block, and stuff can stand on it. But when it's in motion, it drops an entity, because these are now entities in the world. So when the pulse generator makes a pulse, it flickers the trapdoor, which drops all the minecarts. But because it's being activated and reactivated, it only has enough time for one minecart to pass through its hitbox, and therefore sends a minecart up the track. Comes up here, sends the minecart over to here. Now, this is my personal taste. I designed this. Jagthunder didn't have this in his design. I put this in here. It allows me to store one extra minecart in the train. So basically, Pez dispenser activates, sends one minecart down the line, which then powers this activator, which opens this trapdoor, which drops this, does this, does that, drops the minecart, but because it still has forward momentum, it's going to unpower, and then it's going to put it right there. Just an extra minecart storage. That way, there's always at least one minecart in the system, even if the Pez dispenser gets empty. Now, how does the Pez dispenser automatically redo its job? It automatically redoes its job when a departure cart with a person goes up the departure, triggers this detector rail, which then puts the input into the block for the pulse generator. Basically, every time someone leaves the station, a minecart is instantly restored to the departure track. Unless some idiot just takes all the minecarts out of the train station. Now, what happens if the Pez dispenser is full, David? That is an excellent question. That's what the lava's for. I said that's what the lava's for. All right. We don't need the yellow button. Obviously, you would decorate all of this and isolate the redstone circuitry so that no one has access to it that's just walking through the station, and you would make it all look pretty, but that's how the core of his station works. And then for the green lines, the green destinations on the right, you would just take everything on the left and flip it. So, and then you would just dress it all up. So,